Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Wallet Wisdom, a podcast presented by Lake Michigan Credit Union. If you're new to the podcast or have been listening for a while now, Wallet Wisdom is a podcast designed around breaking down the ins and outs of financial aspects, as well as help bring answers to some of banking's more confusing and complex questions. I'm your host, Brett. Sharing the mic with me again is Kelsey, my co-host. Thank you for being in studio with me.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
Oh, just grand.
You know, I gotta tell you, this has been a really weird fall.
Yes.
It's November. It's been a weird year. Yes, I think we can all agree on that. But it's been like 70 degrees, and it's been incredible. But then the one day that we were gonna have off turns out to go down to like 45 degrees.
That's correct.
It never ceases to amaze me at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. But, well, I'm glad you're doing well. And we are also excited for today's episode here as we have the multi-talented Spencer Miller, who is in studio with us today. He's going to help break down some of the ins and outs of credit scores and some tips to help boost it. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks, Brett. Thanks, Kelsey, for having me.
Absolutely. Hey, we just love that we have a chance to have some really talented people that we get to work with and just some expertise in these different fields. And so we're so glad that you're able to kind of speak to our listeners today about our credit scores and what we can do with them and how to help make them better. So, yeah, we're really excited.
Yeah, absolutely. With the topic of credit, personally, I think that that's something that as a society we lack. So I really think that, any platform that we can promote, educate the financial literacy of credit and how to establish, maintain, build, reestablish, moves us in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. Well, before we get into more of credit score information and all the great information you have for us today, tell us a little bit more about you. Tell us kind of where your story here at the credit union and a little bit more about what you do for us now, in the branches.
Yeah, so I've been with Lake Michigan Credit Union for 8 years. I started as a teller, worked my way up, done every role in the branch land, from teller to loan officer to assistant branch manager. It's been a fun process. I've learned a lot, been able to work with great people, kind of like you talked about. We have amazing people that work at the credit union, so I've learned a lot through mentorships, through collaborations, partnerships, those kind of things. So I'm blessed to be here. Really enjoy what I do.
That's really cool. Yeah. And, we've had a chance to kind of get to know each other. We've done some projects as well in some video world stuff. And it's just incredible to see, just the progression that you've had with the credit union. I think it's a great kind of testament if anyone out there is listening, wondering a little bit more about LMCU. You've heard us talk about a lot about who we are, but we have been, definitely a company that wants to grow our staff and see them progress in their careers and their goals. And it's just really cool to see that, fully happening with you, man.
Absolutely. And grow organically.
Yeah.
I truly believe there's no glass ceilings here and the opportunities here. So I 100% agree with that. For
sure. Well, we are so grateful again that you have been able to grow with us and to be where you're at today, where you can kind of share a little bit more of some of the expertise that you've been able to learn over the years with more specific with your credit scores and how we can kind of grow in that area. So, if you could kind of getting into that conversation more, kind of break down what credit scores really can do for our listeners. And I'm sure many of them at home are like, oh, I know exactly what my credit score is. Or if you don't, they might be like, I know what it's there for. But maybe help us understand the maybe broader scope of what our credit score can really impact for us.
Yeah. Credit score from a financial institution viewpoint is basically just your overall rating of your likeliness to repay back loans. I kind of think of it as like, I don't know if it was a commercial a while back, like the scores that hover over you.
Oh yeah.
I almost like see that when people like come in and people either know or don't. But just one of those things that it's not tangible. You can't really hold it.
Sure.
So it gets confusing. And, people that, have great credit and they know how to work it and they've had it and established it for a long time. That's great. But there's a lot of people out there that don't know, or they got themselves into a bad situation at a younger age, or, medical collections or whatever it is. And they're just looking for help because they don't know. So I am privileged to have that opportunity to, help people walk through that process, and potentially let them reach their dreams, their goals. They want a new car. They want to move into an apartment. They want to eventually buy a house. And how do you get from point A to, point C? Well, we're going to walk that process and, hand in hand and help you get there. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I know that there are so many different things that our credit scores are needed for with getting, different types of loans. Can you kind of break down like some of what those maybe things could be that we would need to consider, or maybe that we don't consider that our credit scores are needed for?
Yeah. Loans is obviously the obvious one. Mortgages, auto loans, credit cards, personal loans, those kind of things. Some things that people probably wouldn't know, insurance, leasing, going into an apartment, they're doing credit checks. Those kind of things that you might not think about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've actually been looking into switching over to a different cell phone provider.
Yeah, cell phone. Yeah,
and even they've been asking more like, hey, we need to check your credit score on certain things, which again, just kind of was surprising, but makes sense. You're going to get into a situation where you're paying a monthly, subscription, if you will, to them. So that's
so basically like anything where you're making any sort of major payment monthly, they're going to probably want to know.
Mm-hmm. And that makes sense. Because from my understanding, like you were saying, that credit score is just a really great opportunity for a business to decide, is this the risk we're willing to take?
Right.
And so I guess walk me through too, why it kind of matters, I guess, to know your credit score. And I guess why or how they grade you on that scale, if you will, from the lower end of your credit score or the higher end of your credit score, like what impacts that, I guess, and what does that mean,
Yeah. So there's definitely a tier-based system to credit. Every institution's different, but typically it's from, an A plus rating all the way down to an E, and the scores can fluctuate. The biggest impact of, where you fall into that tier is your credit age, so how long you've been taking out loans, the payment history, so on-time payments, late payments, missed payments, the revolving and secured debt ratios, so meaning what your capacity is to pay back loans, on like revolving loans, what you have available, are they maxed out, are they 100% available, those kind of things. And then derogatory, so like collections, those kind of things. So,
yeah, and I'm sure that can all impact quite a bit of your score, and it makes sense that's what they're kind of grading your score based off of, and companies and businesses are looking at, is this person I'm going to loan money to going to be able to do, pay that, and then to see that that's how they grade it, it makes sense. If you're going to pay on time, are you delinquent on other places? Are you beyond the capacity financially to go and take on anything more? So I guess let me ask you this. One thing that I at least have found, now I know there's some new products that are out there that both we have at the credit union, but a lot of financial institutions have and credit cards have, where you can check your credit score more frequently. I remember growing up that checking your credit score was something you wanted to be cautious of because that could potentially also impact your credit score with how many checks and all the rest. But some of that's changing, right?
Yeah. So what you're referring to is like hard pulls versus soft pulls. I personally recommend everybody to have some sort of FICO service, whatever that looks like. If your Discover card offers that, great. I personally use Credit Karma just because it's a free check, I guess. You can go to myfreecreditscore.com and do a one time a year check soft pull. But it does affect if you're hard pulling, and I guess hard pulling your credit, that's in particular when you're taking out loans. So you're being pre-approved for a mortgage, you're getting an auto loan. Those are hard pulls. The FICO services are more soft pulls. So it's not really you're not gonna see that effect on your credit score. But I do recommend that to help people, because a lot of people, when they're coming into the branch and they're applying for a loan, there'll be things on their credit report that they don't know, past medical collections that they're like, what the heck, I thought I paid that.
Right.
Or, they moved recently, so those bills went to the old address. Well, the insurance company is just going to put that into a collection status because they don't really care, which can extremely affect your credit. So I always recommend, having some type of monitoring system.
Sure.
You can pay for stuff too. You can go through Experian, through TransUnion, through Equifax, and pay their services. But there's a lot of free stuff out there too. So if you're not doing it, I recommend it.
Yeah, which actually brings up a really good question I want to ask you. So, like, I've got a few different accounts, a couple different credit cards, and when I go to check my credit score, I will have sometimes two different scores, and one saying like FICO and one saying something else. And I guess what's a great way for people to, because sometimes it would look different by almost like 25 different points and it's not like matching. So are there different, I guess, resources out there that pull or consider credit differently than the other?
Yeah, absolutely. The three big bureaus is what I just stated: the Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. And within those bureaus, there are many different like FICO versions. Different institutions will pull different reports based on what they kind of cater to. So like a mortgage company is gonna pull a tri-pull heavily weighted on mortgages. The credit union we pull on based on heavily weighted on consumer loans.
Sure.
So those kind of things. But yeah, you'll definitely see a different score. Hopefully it's not, hundreds of points different. Usually it's that 20 point swing, but that's primarily why. So
okay, that's really good to know, because that's always bothered me. I'm like, what the heck? I've got a way better score here, and then this one's like 20 points less, and I'm like, I don't like that. But it makes sense, and it's cool to know that there are different companies that are looking at things and grading things just slightly differently. So, would you recommend then, if other listeners are kind of experiencing that same thing, that you just maybe take a couple of them and then just kind of average that to kind of find that, or is it kind of just pick one and just like that one the most? Or
depends on
pick the one that's higher,
like the
and
higher one
better. Right.
I guess it depends on what you're trying to do.
Sure.
If your goal is to buy a house, speak to your mortgage loan officer and figure out what bureau they pull through heavily.
Sure.
If you're trying to buy a car, through your bank, through your credit union, same thing. Talk to the loan officer. Hey, who you guys pulling through? Those kind of things. So it really just depends on what you're looking to do.
Yeah.
Because if your two different scores are, 595 and 605, and a minimum credit score is 600, you might want to ask around about which one they're going to pull. So
that's a great point.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that affects interest rate and payments and those kind of
all
things
that
too.
stuff.
So it's definitely good information to know.
Well, and it's interesting too, if listeners are just tuning in for the first time on this episode, we've been talking about credit scores little by little throughout the last few podcasts that we've had, as it relates to mortgage, as it relates to auto loans, as it relates to so many other areas. And just having that understanding, this is all part of that bigger equation. When you're trying to finance that house, when you're trying to be able to, find a personal loan that might work for you, your credit score is just another piece of that equation. As institutions like Lake Michigan Credit Union or any other financial institution has to look at the full picture, as we've talked about in other podcasts, like that full picture snapshot of who you are as a person that's asking for a loan, and it all has to come together somehow.
Yeah.
So that's one reason why I was really excited that we are doing today's podcast about credit score more directly, because I think there's a lot of questions still around how then, if my credit score is not where it needs to be, we've been talking about how to get personal loans, how to get this new house, and especially with interest rates and like these historic moments, but they're looking at their credit score and thinking, I don't know how to get this score high enough to really benefit from those things. So I think that's the next big thing that we'd love to chat more with you is like, help us grow our credit scores, because I know I could help myself getting a little bit better credit score, and I'm sure there's others that are listening as well. So,
well, I think too about like this time of year, it tends to be a little bit more spendy for people.
'Tis the season.
Yeah, people sometimes take out new credit cards or whatever it might be. If somebody ends up in a position, sort of like the example you gave earlier, where you were talking about, I moved and a bill I missed, or if I miss a payment on a new credit card that I forgot I opened during the holidays or something like that. How do you make up for those little errors here and there that can really affect you?
Yeah, and that's the hard part, because with credit, the biggest factor you're dealing with is time. And that can be hard to tell somebody, especially when they're trying to buy a house by the end of the year. So the big thing is I always like to tell people that it is a process. So, plan for that process. So if you're currently renting and you want to buy a house in the next year, 2 years, like let's develop a plan and prepare for that.
Yeah.
The other thing that Brett, you had mentioned that kind of wanted to talk about a little bit was just because it can be very intimidating, the whole process of credit scores. And I guess just to give people a little bit of the background, if I were to lend you $20,000,
sure,
and I don't know you,
I would be really I'd be grateful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But you got to think of it kind of that way, from a financial institution. Like, yes, we know our members and our clientele, but at the same time, like, we do have to assess risk and, be truthful in our lending practices and those kind of things. So the credit score is just one piece of the puzzle to assess, hey, do I want to lend this person $20,000?
Sure.
Based off of, past performance,
Yeah.
So it can be intimidating. It can be frustrating at times, especially when you're being told no. But that's, in a nutshell, that's why we, as a financial institution, Lake Michigan Credit in particular, we have to protect, our assets, our member base.
Sure.
It's a big piece to it that a lot of people don't fully rationalize with.
No, I think that's a really good point, because I think it's easy for, just the general population to look at a bank or a credit union and think, hey, well, they've got all this money.
Bunch of money,
why wouldn't they loan money to me? But I think the way that you broke it down in the simplest form for, I think, listeners to kind of even think about is, regardless of whether it's a big financial institution that has, quote unquote, all this money, it's also at its simplest, it's saying, hey, if you were going to lend somebody that you don't really know that much money, you're not sure if they're going to pay you back or not. And you want to make sure then you're going to ask probably a lot more questions, like, how are you going to plan to pay that back? And how much
money? Do you have references that you've paid before in the past or something?
Do you have an income right now to be actually able to pay me back in that way? So I like the way that you broke that down, because I think I would be the exact same way. I would be very particular to make sure as well. And so then you just compound that on a much bigger scale. And like you said, with the credit union, it's our member base that makes our financial institution possible. It's not like, we've got shareholders and all this other stuff. And so, I hear one thing that I love about working here is I hear from both from the top to the very bottom of every person that works here, we have this responsibility and this desire to protect our members' interests. And that I just think is so telling by how we handle our finances and how we loan things out and how we do things. So.
Yeah.
But
speaking of protecting members' interests, then, if I am a member and I come in and I'm, I haven't been checking my credit score and I'm really wanting a personal loan or an auto loan or something, and it's just not really a great score, what are the options your team is going to offer me at that point? What ways can I recover going forward, or how much time do I have to kind of, you might not have specifics, but some suggestions you might give a member in a situation like that?
Yeah, it's a great question. and it can kind of seem maybe one-sided, but back to what we just talked about, if you have a proven track record, we're going to reward you for that. So it is important to know, where you are. If you're in that situation where your credit's not as great, or you're on that lower tier, like let's work in a positive direction. A lot of people will come in, with a goal of wanting X. Well, we might not be able to give you X today. So, if it really depends on the situation, but if it's a new credit, somebody's zero score, we need to establish credit. So by establishing credit, usually it's a $250 credit card, just something that they're not going to get in trouble with.
Right.
If it's reestablishing credit, so somebody has had collections, derogatory, missed payments, those kind of things in the past, it might look a little bit different. It might be, hey, you need to budget and pay off these things before we can even talk about this auto loan, or before we can even talk. And then it might not even be pay them off, get that. It might be need to pay these off and then do little things, do, a small personal loan or a small credit card before we can get to that, I don't know, $20,000 auto loan or whatever the situation is.
To build it back up.
Yeah.
Or the other piece of it too is somebody who has great credit, but they're maxed out. That's the tough one too. The capacity's not there. So that could be a conversation of, okay, I know you want this. Let's kind of rework your liabilities and consolidate some things and move some stuff around so it makes more sense from a debt to income ratio standpoint.
Yeah, for sure.
You mean they're maxed out in terms of like the number of loans they have or something like that? Okay.
Yep, capacity is like lending capacity, I guess.
Okay.
Sure. Because you were talking a little bit about like that credit ratio, if you will. Like you've got a credit card, and say you've got 3 credit cards at $10,000 each. And if they're like, you may be making all those payments on time and all the rest, but you're maxed out with that. So, $30,000 credit line is completely maxed out, and
your debt's just too high compared to your income.
Right. There isn't that ratio that's left, if you will.
But you're an 800 credit score.
But you're an 800, right, because you pay on time, you've been paying on time, you're great, all the rest. Now, I have heard, and maybe you can help, as we're talking about some of these tips to boost that credit score. If you're maxed out on your total credit amount that you have been gifted, if you will, or given, does that negatively impact your credit score if you are, within a certain, beyond a certain range?
Absolutely. With I think in particular, you're talking like revolving lines.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's why I'm just the host and you're the expert.
Yeah. So that
you can give us the technical
that's
terms.
right.
I mean, obviously life happens. So that's the other piece of it too. Like people get into situations where you might have to, put a new water heater in your house or a furnace, and it might max out those credit cards. And I get that, and that happens, and you have to do that. In a perfect world, though, you never want to max out a credit card.
Sure.
At the bare minimum, 50%. So that's kind of the ratio. I like to tell people if you're, just $10,000 credit line, you never want to spend over $5,000.
Sure.
Or you can spend over $5,000, but you never want to
Stay in that range.
Have a report to the credit bureau that you spent that.
Like if you have to spend the $10,000, pay it off quickly.
Pay it off in a month.
Get to the
Sure.
$5,000.
Yeah.
Sure.
So pay it down at least till half. Ideally, pay it down to zero. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Again, life happens, but we're talking about boosting your credit. Keep that ratio below 50%.
Below 50. See,
That will help you.
and see, that's the one
That's
thing.
actually something I didn't even think about because I'm like, I have however much on my credit card.
Sure.
That's how much I can spend.
Well, and I'll tell you, I learned that the hard way. And I think that's one thing that we hope that this podcast will continue to do for listeners is some of the information that we're learning now. I wish I knew when I was younger, right?
Yeah.
These are a lot of the things not talked about, even in schools right now, in high schools. Like, yeah, there's economic classes, but, even for me, not that long ago, I mean, we're still just talking about how to write a paper check and balance it, this paper check. But the world is digital and credit is a very real thing. And those are the areas that can get people in trouble quick.
Yeah.
Not that you bounced a check, but that you have now exceeded a credit limit and you can't pay it back. That's going to impact you even more. And in learning that, here's a perfect example. I had a couple of small credit cards. I really hated the inconvenience of having to go in and pay for each one, but they were all under half on the 3 different cards. And I'm like, you know what? Why am I doing this to myself? I'm just going to put all of this onto one credit card and I only have to make one payment every month instead of going to 3 different places. Little did I realize I put myself in a place where on that card that had the limit, I put myself close to max because I consolidated. I'm doing air quotes, listeners. You can't see me, but I consolidated all of my debt onto one card. But that didn't help me, I found out. And then little by little, I'm like, why is my credit score going down? Yeah, I'm paying on time, but because I was in this higher tier on just that card. So I appreciate that information. Hopefully that's helpful for listeners as well. So
yeah, one thing I might add too is as far as credit cards and in those regards, never miss a payment. That's like rule number 1. Even if you are maxed out in those ratios,
At least make the minimum.
never miss a payment.
Yeah.
That will hurt you like more severe than having a maxed out
limit.
credit card. So never miss a payment. Second tip, like we said, 50% ratio, keep it below that. Ideally, $0 on the line is best when you're the credit card companies report.
Yeah.
And then kind of a advanced pro tip that not a lot of people know. So when you have your billing statement with your credit card, say it's due on the 18th of the month, that's when your payment's due. So obviously you want to make the payment, ideally pay it off and never pay interest by the 18th.
Sure.
I always tell people to speak to your credit card companies and ask them when they report to the bureaus, the credit bureaus, because a lot of times those due dates and the reporting dates are different. So that's why you might see it on like Credit Karma where, hey, I paid that statement balance off, but it's showing you a $1,500 on your your credit card.
So like maybe they're reporting on the 15th, but your payment's due on the 18th or something.
Or payment on the 18th, reporting on the 30th.
Oh, okay. Sure.
So those dates, like I guess pro tip, boosting your credit. It's nice to know too. A lot of them will report at the same day, but sometimes they don't. So as far as like having full 0 or 100% revolving availability, that's a good tip that not a lot of people know.
Well, and I've heard the tip too, and I'd love for your input on it too. Of let's say your credit card payment is $100 every month. Pay $50 of it halfway through the month, and then pay the remaining $50. Just so that you can reduce some of the amount of money that's potentially there that could be hit with interest.
Yeah, you're paying less on interest over the entire balance. So,
and
so just the more you chip away, the better.
The better. That's cool.
If you can put $10 a paycheck even towards it, it's going to help you.
Just less to have to go on interest.
And the nice thing about the world we live in today, like you mentioned, everything is digital. In particular, like Michigan Credit Union, we have 0 prepayment penalty.
Sure.
So you can go buy Christmas gifts or whatever it is tomorrow. You can pay it off tomorrow too. Like you don't have to wait until that due date or whatever it is. So there's the digital world we live in is exciting.
It is indeed. So I want to kind of wrap us up, but I think it's crucial that. And it would be a detriment if we didn't talk about this for listeners, because I'm sure that there are those listening that are like, hey, Spencer, this is great information, except it's too late now. I have now put myself into a bad place. I have gone delinquent on payment. And I think for a lot of us, we're looking at 2020 this year, and we've all had different, situations financially. And for a lot of people that might be listening, they're thinking, yeah, this has been one of the hardest years for me, and I've had to put a lot more on credit cards. I either was furloughed and I wasn't able to collect the same amount that I am used to getting, or just a lot of crap that's gone on this year, right? And so what do I do? Because it's great to know that ahead of time, but I've put myself in that spot. I've been late on a couple payments. I've beyond my revolving, credit line, and I'm above that 50% without any chances of getting that lowered. Now, what do I do?
Yeah, it's a great question. In that particular situation, I would advise someone to be humbled and not be embarrassed because of it.
So wise.
know that your financial institution, hopefully it's with Lake Michigan Credit Union, has your best interest at heart. So if you are in that situation, please come to the branch. Speak with one of our loan officers, and they'll, like I said, they'll kind of lay out that plan. I see it time and time again, and I've never not been able to help anybody, and I've seen some pretty deep
Sure.
debt,
Holes.
Yeah.
debt holes. Again, it might take longer than
You
they
want it
might
to
want.
take.
Sure.
But it is a process, and we'll lay out a plan for you and give you the tools and the steps and everything you need to right those wrongs. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't just sit on it and think that you can't fix it, because
For sure.
can.
time's the big factor in that. So.
Yeah, it is. I'm sure it's a bit more of a patience game. It's not a fast game, and it's hard because sometimes we do want it to move fast, right? We live in a fast-paced world still, and we kind of want those instant results. But from this standpoint, there's a bit of a time to have to work through those things. And I think if you listeners that have been listening to the podcast now for a few episodes, this is a recurring thing we keep saying, especially in this year. This is not the time to become so full of pride that you can't ask for help.
Right.
This is definitely a place, I know for Lake Michigan Credit Union and all of our wonderful branch staff, we are here to truly partner with you, right? And we want to really help you. No judgment. It's a judgment-free zone. And we're here to want to partner to help you find truly your financial freedom in a lot of ways to really grow in your finances and provide for your families.
Yeah.
So I think as you hear this recurring, stop into a branch, give us a call. We have a lot of great staff ready to just help partner with you and really make an impact in your life
costs
financially.
nothing to ask questions.
Exactly. And the nice thing about it too is, credit is such a fluid thing. So even if it's not just you, think about your friends, your family, your kids. It's a constant. There's always, this talk of, credit hovering over us, and a lot of people are afraid to talk about it. And it's kind of become, like a prideful thing, like you had mentioned. So, if it's not you in that situation, still feel free to, share that education and the, things that or if you're someone that is very established in credit, like pass that education on. Like we need more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Spencer, I really appreciate you coming in, and I think that there is definitely still so much more we can talk about. So maybe we'll do a part 2 of Credit Score after the holidays, when everyone has hopefully not gone too far.
Fix your holiday spending.
Fix your holiday spending after all the gifts. But no, I really do appreciate that information, and hopefully listeners at home, you are also getting some good information in how to set yourself up coming into these holiday spending season to not overextend. But like Spencer said, if you need to use your credit for anything like that, try and keep it under half, pay it off. If you can get to 0, great. If you need help, go into a branch. We are ready and willing to help you, partner with you, and help you grow in your financial freedoms. So anyway, again, thank you, Spencer.
Thank you.
Well, as you all know, we have a pretty exciting end to the show here. We have now gone 2 podcasts with the wonderful Kelsey winning our trivia. So today, not to put a pressure on you here, Spencer, but today's game show is up for $150 to go towards a nonprofit that we support here at the credit union, and you get a chance to win it all here. So I would say the pressure is quite amount.
It's on.
It's on. It's going to be on. So without further ado, here's the rules, just to kind of give you an update for those that are at home listening that have not heard before. We will have a race to 3. You will buzz in with your name. So I will ask the question, and both Spencer, you, and Kelsey have an opportunity to buzz in with your name. You will have a roughly 10 seconds to answer the question. If you get it wrong, the opposite person can steal the point. First to 3 wins. If we need a tiebreaker, we always have the option for that as well. But yeah, any questions?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, then let's get to it. All right. First question. What is Joe Exotic, aka the Tiger King's real name?
I never watched it.
I thought his real name was Joe Exotic. Now that I say that out loud, I realize how silly that sounds. So, I'll guess.
You don't have to.
Okay, I won't.
His real name, Joseph Allen Maldonado Passage.
Maldonado.
Maldonado, thank
I
you.
think I've heard that now that you say it.
That's okay. Spencer, I didn't watch it either.
Yeah.
And I know it was
You
the
guys
phenomenon. And
are missing out on some like film gold.
I'm sure. I'm sure that's true. So, you know what? We're not going to count that one. It's just
Appreciate
we're gonna let that one just be the first one then.
All right, practice round.
Practice round. That's
All right,
it.
We'll take it.
All right. Let's see what we got on this one. All right. Which actor voiced both Darth Vader and the Lion King's Mufasa?
These are tough.
I can picture the guy in my head. Now his name, on the other hand. Yeah, any guess is gonna be sad. So
I'm finding out I'm not good at trivia.
things are going well.
The wonderful, the multi-talented James Earl Jones.
I should have known that. I was gonna guess Harold. That's not even close.
Nope. No, that was.
And I didn't have a last name. So.
All right. That's fine. That one did count. So 0-0. Next question. All right. How many times did Ross Geller get divorced in Friends?
Kelsey.
Kelsey.
3.
That is correct. We have a
Yeehaw.
1-0 right here. All right. So first one, both got it wrong. 0. Second question.
Thanks for the
Kelsey's
reminder.
got it right. 1. Spencer, you need this to
do.
tie this up and go into overtime to beat Kelsey here today. I think we can do this. All right. Now, next question. What is the capital of Canada?
Spencer?
Spencer.
I said I get 10 seconds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Our Canadian listeners at home are just screaming.
I know. Montreal.
I am sorry, that is incorrect.
I wasn't ever good
Toronto.
at
I have no
geography.
clue.
And especially not a foreign country. I don't know if you'd call Canada a foreign country. It's not that far, but
Well, it isn't our country, so it would be considered a foreign country. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you said it is in our country. I was like, it's in our continent. Okay. Anyway, Toronto?
Unfortunately, the correct
bet you-
answer is Ottawa.
Oh, my second guess was gonna be Ontario. So
Yes.
which I'm pretty sure like Toronto and Ontario, one of them's in the other one. So
However, because that was the third question, and you got the first or second question right, Kelsey, you won.
oh.
You won.
So little work to win.
Ouch.
Oh man! All right. Well, just because we have to, let me just see here. Would
The
you?
next question we're probably both gonna know. This is how it always
what
happens.
day is Star Wars Day?
Oh, I don't know.
What is the name of Chip and Joanna Gaines' lifestyle brand?
Magnolia.
Yeah, there you go.
Which Avenger, other than Captain America, was able to pick up Thor's hammer in the Marvel movies?
The Hulk? No?
Oh, listeners, we're gonna have to work on our trivia questions.
The Hulk Avenger.
I'm so sorry. It's okay. I'm realizing that my show
Captain
producers and
Underpants?
I are more nerds than our guests. So we're gonna have to work on some of those questions for next time.
Gotta keep it to like Friends, The Office, Parks and Rec, things like that. It's more my speed.
I think so. All right. Well, Spencer, I'm very sorry. We failed you. We didn't give you the softball questions that we could have, and I apologize.
I promise I'm better at financial literacy than I am trivia.
We'll
I
ask
think we've
more.
definitely proved that
Yes,
today.
I think so for sure. So anyway, well, we just really, again, appreciate you on the show, Spencer. We will have you on again for sure to talk some more. Maybe after the new year. I think that'll be good. So
Appreciate you guys.
indeed. Well, listeners, we are so excited that, again, you've tuned in. If you haven't already, subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell your family. Spencer,
May 4th.
May 4th is
Oh,
Star
may the
Wars
4th
Day.
be with you.
May
I
the-
should have known that.
That's right.
Literally just came to me.
That's it. There you go. See? Don't worry, friends. There are still Star Wars fans out there. But hopefully you're also fans of Wallet Wisdom. So again, be sure to subscribe, like us on Facebook, Instagram, all the social medias, and keep listening. If you haven't already, tune into some of our past episodes, and we'll see you next time. See you later.
Thanks for listening. The information provided in this podcast by Lake Michigan Credit Union is general education or marketing in nature and is not intended to be accounting, legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Statements of individuals are their own, not LMCU's. All topics discussed are information of a general nature and do not address the circumstances of any particular individual or entity. Consult an appropriate professional concerning your specific situation. As of the date of publishing and any future date this podcast is broadcast, all rates, fees, payments, or other specific figures discussed are subject to change and are dependent upon your specific financial situation. All loan products discussed are subject to credit and collateral approval. You alone assume the sole responsibility of evaluating the merits and risks associated with the use of any information or other content in the podcast before making any decisions based on such information or other content. In exchange for listening to the podcast, you agree not to hold LMCU, its affiliates, or any third-party service providers liable for any possible claim for damages arising from any decision you make based on information or other content made available to you through the podcast. For more information on any of the content discussed in this podcast, please visit lmcu.org. Copyright Lake Michigan Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing lender. LMCU, NMLS ID number 442967.